What is a piece of advice that you'd give to your clients, Katie?
Oh, I would tell them to not wait. I find a lot of times with small businesses, especially like, solopreneurs and, under 10 employees, that they wait too long to reach out for help. They're wishing, hoping, praying, anything that this person is going to pay them. And they hear from them, oh, next month or next pay period, or, the check is in the mail. And they miss time, right? Because time is opportunity. As a matter of fact, there are all sorts of studies you can look up, and after 90 days, your chances of getting money back is like 70 to 75 cents on the dollar. If you wait a year past due, it drops down to about 25 cents on the dollar. And so you have to understand and know instinctually when it's like a losing battle. I hate to use that term, but when you know in your heart that this person is not going to pay you. And it's hard to make that decision to say, oh, I'm going to take somebody who I was in this great relationship with that's kind of gone sour for lack of payment and hand it off, right? Do this to them. But by waiting for so long, you're really decreasing your chances of recouping any of that revenue. And really, that's your ultimate goal, right? Is to get paid for the work so you can continue to help more people and do more things. So I guess that's the long way of saying don't wait. 90 days, maybe 120, and it's time to move on to the next step.
Don't wait. Katie, we should start this episode. We'll get started with the episode right now and we'll dive deep.
Okay, let's go.
Welcome to Rochester Business Connections, powered by Balbert Marketing, LLC, where I get the chance to chat with Rochester, New York's very best business owners, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders. I am your host, Ben Albert. Don't forget to subscribe, and remember, we don't do advertisements. My fee for this show is simple. If you gain value from the episode, personally share with a friend and explain your favorite part. Let's get started. Welcome everyone to Rochester Business Connections on the Real Business Connections Network. I am here with Katie Borchers. Katie, what's up? How are you? I'm excited to be with you today.
Yes, hello. Great. I am excited.
We've been chatting. You're a breath of fresh air. I'm excited for this conversation. You are the owner of Beyond Green Solutions, and your whole story is interesting. So we're going to want to hear it because you were a nurse for much of your career, and now what? You're a collections agent? Seems like quite the pivot.
Yeah, you don't know any other nurses who started collection agencies?
Not offhand, but you're definitely my favorite if I do know any others.
Very nice. Yeah, so I started Beyond Green Solutions. It is a debt collection agency, but I never lead with that. I always say I own a past due accounts receivable company.
Got it.
Because I think leading with anything other than the fact that I own a debt collection agency is the best way to get to know people and establish rapport. I always like to start with, I'm a nurse, I'm a mom, but it does tend to come up that you have to admit that you own a collection agency.
Yes. And of course I opened with it. Hopefully no one turned it off yet because Katie is a breath of fresh air. You're a nurse, you're a mom. Who is Katie? Who's Katie outside of work? And I kind of want to hear who you are outside of work and how you bring that personality into your job, into your role.
Oh, that's a great way to start. I didn't know we were going to start with personal.
Me
So
neither.
I have spent almost my entire life in Rochester, grew up in Webster. I went away for 4 years to Buffalo for nursing school and then came back. I'm raising my children in the same town, about 8 to 10 minutes from my parents who still live in the house I grew up in. And I'm the mom of 3 children. I've been married for almost 18 years. And I love where I'm raising my children. I love that my business is a part of the community that I'm a part of. And, I spend a lot of my time outside of work with really whatever my kids are doing. They're super involved in Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, school play, volleyball. I ran an art club over the winter for middle school at my kids' school. I'll do anything they want to do I really believe in service. I've done it my whole life, but at this point in my life, it's all about what my kids are doing.
Love it. So you believe in service. You're obviously full of caring and excitement in everything your kids do. And as a nurse, the empathy and everything that your clients and the organization needs. How does that pivot into the role you're doing now? Again, you're the only
Yeah.
one of the kind.
Yeah, yeah. So I was looking to make a change and step aside from healthcare. And my partner at Beyond Green Solutions has been in collections for many years.
Hmm.
And he really believed in a better product, a better process, and meeting the needs of a really underserved industry. And so when we started talking about, what do we both believe in? He's very focused on technology, customer service. And I said, well, I'm a nurse. I'm focused on those same things, but I'm really focused on the people, the emotions.
Mm.
And so if you ever look at our tagline for Beyond Green Solutions, it says, uniting collections, empathy, and technology, right? So it's all those things that Chris and I believe in. And so we started a collection agency, and I stopped saying I came from healthcare and started learning the business of collections and realized that kindness is important anywhere, everywhere.
Right.
Treating people with kindness is important in all industries. And believe it or not, people react to kindness. They're much more willing to engage. And there's no reason why that can't happen in collections. And so we believe that you lead with kindness, listening, asking open-ended questions, giving people an opportunity to establish rapport and get those feelings off their chest, which ultimately leads to collaboration, mediation, and resolution of that debt that they have. And it makes our companies, our clients happy because we're treating their customers the same way that they are treating them. And we really become that extension of their team. The other half, as I said, there were two, is this underserved population. Rochester is thriving with small businesses. And these small businesses, they need all sorts of support. And there's one area of support that I didn't see them getting, and that is in their past dues. If you were a huge company and you had hundreds and thousands of dollars in past dues, you could probably find any collection agency that wants to help you. But what if you only have 100,000 or 20,000 or 2,000? You don't really feel like you have a lot of options. And small businesses, they can't leave revenue on the table. They need every bit to stay healthy financially and continue to function. And so we found a place that really needs our help, and we can provide it in a way that really protects their brand. So it's been a big win-win for me in a new industry.
Yeah, so kindness, working with even the little guy, protecting their brand, protecting their assets, bringing in the revenue they deserve to collect at the end of the day. I love the way you frame what you do, because for a lot of people, collections feels like a dirty word. Like it's something that you only get called if there's an issue, and reasonably so. I mean, someone needs to collect. But I love that you're taking collections, but incorporating technology and empathy. Was that the big three again? Did I remember properly?
Yeah, absolutely. It's leading with something soft, right? It's giving people the opportunity to do the right thing, right? Businesses have provided a service.
Right.
The client, the consumer, the debtor should be paying for that services rendered. But it doesn't mean I should assume why they haven't paid. It doesn't mean I should harass or shame them because they haven't. We're all very busy people. We all have different reasons for not doing the things that we do, but it's not usually because we're a bad person or we're a criminal. And so when you approach it with that, listening and understanding and empathizing instead of judging, you're ultimately giving them a path to resolution that they feel comfortable with. And then if you can add on the technology, right? Like, technology doesn't mean living on the bleeding edge, right? It means giving people all of the different options to meet the needs that they want. It's giving them the path of least resistance, right? You're treating me nicely, And now you're allowing me to resolve this in a way that I like. Maybe I love a portal where I can, clickety clickety and set up an account. Maybe I just want to, give you my card over the phone. Oh my gosh, some people still want to tear off the little strip of paper at the bottom and fill it out and send it a check. We have to give people all of those options to resolve their debt, to make it as easy as possible. It's kind of like a choose your own adventure.
I love it. Choose your own adventure based on meeting people at the channel they prefer, the payment they prefer. And I know personally, so let's use just Google as an example. That's obviously not that'd be the biggest client on earth, but Google as an example, getting someone on the phone or getting someone to even answer an email or answer a question is actually really hard, if not feels like impossible. So if Google owed me money, I wouldn't know how to get in contact with them. And I might just quit because it's so frustrating and confusing. And that doesn't even mean that Google won't pay me. They just don't know that they don't owe me money because there's a miscommunication there. So is that normal, that there's often just a miscommunication, that the business owner is having trouble reaching the person and the person might not even know that they owe the money? They're just not being reached at the proper channel or anything like that. Is that as common as it feels like it could be?
It definitely happens, right? Oh my gosh, I didn't even know I owed this money. It can happen. It's happened to all of us at one point, right? Most common, we see one of two scenarios. One scenario is they know they owe money, they can't pay the entire thing, and they're paralyzed. They don't know what to do. And they don't think about all of the options that we can present to them, right? Like a payment program. And so they just ignore it, right? They're paralyzed. They don't know what to do. They ignore it. The other half, the other kind of majority for us is they know that they owe the money, but they kind of tuned it out. Think of like a white noise. Some of you out there have children, right? And when your children are screaming and yelling, you kind of learn to tune that out and, do whatever it is you're trying to do. If you're communicating in the same way from the same person or same company, at some point they have so much on their plate, they're just going to tune out that white noise. And another invoice, another statement, another phone call, it's just so easy to tune it out. But by sending it to us, it's kind of that next level of incentive in communication, right? Suddenly the letter on your stack of pile doesn't say the same company anymore. It's something new. Suddenly the language is different, right? We are truly a third-party collection agency, and it's stating that in our letters. And that creates a new sense of urgency and incentive for them to say, okay, this is the hottest burning fire on my list of things to do.
Yes.
I need to now take care of this. Ultimately resolve it.
When you're looking to resolve these things, is it common in your industry that they operate as a member of the company and not a third party? I feel like a third party agency that would set some fire under my feet. Is that common to have a third party intermediary? Can't talk today, Katie.
In the businesses that we work in, yes. Right. So think about a small business. Think like, sure. I don't know, 200 to 200 employees. There are many things that you have to outsource, right? Not every small business has a full-time HR person or a full-time front-end manager or a full-time bookkeeper. You start to outsource those things that you don't have a full-time for. So there are many organizations, large ones, that have internal receivables, billers that their core job is to follow up on the past dues. And they get really talented and trained in making those phone calls to ask for money, have difficult conversations. The average small business, I work with people who have, 2 to 10 employees. Nobody has enough training and time set aside to make those phone calls. And they don't occur enough for them to get really good at it. And so by outsourcing to a third-party collection agency, well, that's all my staff do all day, right? They're trained, they're certified, they have time and set aside, they've practiced it. And so when they get to that ultimate responsibility of calling and asking for money, they're not afraid of it. They're not avoiding it. And they're absolutely talented in doing it. That's what they do. And I think small businesses these days, the ones that are thriving, are the ones that have decided when it makes sense to outsource. And by outsourcing, you're actually saving money because you're taking your time and your staff's time to devote what they are truly most talented at, and is the highest earning potential for them, for the company's, fiscal health.
I love this. And anyone listening, guys, this is for anything in your business, right? So you're outsourcing work to someone who's trained, certified, knows exactly what they're doing in that realm, so they can actually put more time and earn more money for your company when your team might not be trained to do that. So that's not just collections, that's anything in your business where you have a missing piece. I'm wondering, when you say certified, what does that mean? What is the certification process like?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Beyond Green Solutions is a member of ACA International. It's a trade organization for collection agencies and similar businesses. And we're a member of ACA for many different reasons. First off, they have unbelievable resources. They have the ability to connect me with other agency owners. So I have that camaraderie. But most importantly, it's the top-notch training. I could spend weeks and weeks trying to put together the training program that I've gone through, that my team goes through to be certified as either collection agents, regulatory and compliance, being a floor manager for a collections department. There are dozens of certifications and ongoing training and resources for me to stay up to date. I believe, I don't know many other industries, but collections is a highly regulated industry. I don't know many more that are more highly regulated. And in order to be reputable and to thrive for yourself and your clients and protect everybody involved, you need to understand the laws, the rules, and the regulations. And ACA provides that for me and my team. So, that's just me touting. Anybody should be a member of the trade organization for the industry they are a part of. And ACA is no different for collections.
I love that. Regulation's good. So I can't just hire a mobster to go kick someone's teeth in. I actually want someone.
You can, but it's against FDCPA regulations. They actually define federally what is considered harassment. And I'm pretty sure that falls in that category of harassment.
So we already know we don't want to harass people. Let's do either. I'm going to give you two options, or if you want, we'll tackle them both. But I'm looking for a client testimonial, or we could walk through just a scenario and kind of walk through how a unique scenario would look like. Do you want to do a testimonial, scenario, or we could even walk through both? I kind of want to hear what it looks like in action.
Yeah. Let's start with a scenario, because I think that will lead me into a testimonial.
Awesome. So I want you to take the lead on a common scenario where a lot of the listeners, they own a business or they're part of a small business. Some of them are part of corporate. But let's just imagine like a small business, maybe 5, 10, 20 employees, just a small locally owned business. They're trying to collect on something. Well, what does this normally look like? So I reach out to Katie and I say, oh my gosh, we have $150,000 in past dues, yada, yada, yada. Where do we go from here?
Yeah, that actually sounds just about right then. So
I'm making it up as we go, but I wanted to keep it realistic.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a whole bunch of people that are behind on paying me. 60 days, 90 days have passed, and they're not communicating to me. And that list of people is growing, and it's growing so much that it's unhealthy for our organization. And that's usually around 10 to 15% receivables in the past dues category, that it gets a little scary. And those numbers start to have more zeros added to the end. And so they reach out and say, I've got a bunch of people that aren't paying me and I really need your help. And we talk about, well, who does it today? How do they do it? What are the things in the process that have already occurred? And what are the ways that you've incentivized them to pay you up until this moment, right? Communication and incentives, policies, documentation, communication. And so then we sign contract. We take accounts from them, all of the past dues they'd like us to work on. And it takes about an hour. We're commission-based, so there's no upfront pricing they have to pay. And, when we've done what we said we're going to do, then we'll, we make some money and we load those accounts
Katie,
in.
Dive into that part, because when we first met it, that amazed me, and I want to get back to the scenario, but tell me about the commission-based model, because that for me was a sexy concept. So go on and talk about that.
Yeah, I would say it's an empathetic concept, right?
Yes.
If you're a small business and you need every bit of revenue.
Empathy is sexy, Katie. Empathy is sexy. We'll go with that.
Okay, let's go with that. Right. So you have people who owe you money, and therefore you're not thriving financially, right? Your company is unhealthy and you reach out for help. Can you afford to pay for help to get money for the people who won't pay you because you need money, right? So from an empathetic standpoint, it's not just how we do collections, it's how we onboard our clients. And so we have found that for a small business to thrive and even reach out to us for help, they can't afford to pay us until we've brought the money back. And so we do commission-based only. We not only do commission-based, we actually found out that from a holistic, empathetic, holistic care of our clients, we shouldn't just be doing collecting. And so part of that onboarding, right? You've signed a contract, given your information to get started. We'll do a review of your contracts, a review of your process, a review of who does it and how they do it when they have to reach out and ask for money. And we'll provide a whole bunch of pointers, right? Here are some things that you could do that would reduce the amount of past dues that you have. And we found that when we started doing that what people stuck onto the most was the training. I'm an HVAC or a plumbing or a construction company, and my technicians are the ones that ask for money. Well, they're great technicians. You've trained them well, but generally speaking, they probably haven't been trained on how to ask for money. I'm a healthcare company or, some sort of professional services, and I have a clerk or an admin staff who asks for money. Has that person ever been trained to do that? And so we found that training was really the most important. So again, we'll onboard, we'll do the accounts, we'll follow that federally regulated process to collect, but we'll also go back and see what we can do to help the business. And so the greatest success stories that we have are not just the money that we've collected, it's the fact that those companies give us less and less to collect over time. Because we've done two things, right? We've improved their processes and their staff and how they, do their own internal collections. But we've also trained their customers in a sense, because now they see where we are as part of the process. And so the next time they have a service, they're going to pay when they get that invoice because they know the repercussions and they know what happens in part of the process when they don't pay. And at first, people would say to me, well, Katie, aren't you, you're losing money over time. Well, I'm losing money for that company, but I'm creating a great referral process, right? Because we're truly holistically, empathetically caring for our clients and their clients, their customers, consumers, in a way that, maintains their integrity. And so they start to be our testimonials. And, if you went to our site, you would start to see some of that because, and it's funny because you're a collection agency, right? Well, I'm a collection agency. You're not. But what kind of Google reviews does a collection agency get? So I reached out to one of our clients and I said, do you ever hear anything bad about us from your patients? They're like, no. I'm like, do you ever hear anything good? No. I'm like, well, do you ever hear anything? They're like, oh yeah. We people call us all the time and tell us, oh, I talked to so-and-so at Beyond Green Solutions. And I'm like, have you lost any customers, any patients through this process? No. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to stop you. No news is good news, right? Like for a collection agency, I see that as a win. I don't need a big Google review that said, oh, Katie was so nice to me when she was taking my money. I just don't want any bad reviews.
Right.
So I'm really proud of our process. I'm proud that our staff believe in what Chris and I believe in. And I'm proud that our customers and their customers see themselves as being well taken care of.
I'm proud of you. I love the empathy in the process. You answered my one big question. It's like you're almost mentoring and training and advocating for the companies you work with so they can actually replace you with the skill sets you empower them to have internally. It's like, oh my gosh, you're taking business off the table when if you kept them in the dark, you'd have more business. But I love the fact you're saying you get more referrals and more goodwill. And no negative reviews is good. I find that I can ask for good reviews and get them, but it's very uncommon that someone from the kindness of their heart goes in and they want to go in because they're angry and they want to vent. So in your industry, if you're not getting negative reviews, you're probably in the top 5%, Katie. Seems uncommon.
Yeah, this is hard, right?
Right.
Businesses don't want to give up control. They don't want to anger their customers. And so when people don't pay, they feel like they're faced with two choices, right? Try to solve it internally, spin my wheels, make phone calls I'm uncomfortable with, or dare I say, write it off and lose any potential revenue. Or they get to this breaking point and they think the solution is something more drastic, like small claims or contacting an attorney for legal action. Most of them don't understand that there's this softer thing that comes in the middle, and that's collections. Mostly because it's hard to find someone that will do that for small businesses, but it's a softer approach. It's the next step in a series of increasing pressure and incentive, but it's not like, like jumping to the end of the line and bringing the hammer down. And so in many cases, it works. In some cases, it doesn't. In some cases, you have to move on to something a little harsher. But why would you go straight for the throat? Try something softer first. Try something that is, I would say no risk. I'm sure they wouldn't agree, but it's a company that believes in caring for their customers and you. And it's a company that believes in empathy. And so if there's no upfront pricing and there's no potential loss in, integrity and reputation, to me, it's worth a chance. Don't just leave money sitting on the table. Don't just write it off. You worked hard for that money,
right?
And you should have it. And I think it's hard for businesses sometimes to realize that.
It is. It's easier to just write it off, but I feel like they deserve to take a little more action to not have to do that. So I derailed the scenario. Let's go back to 150K. You're coming on board. What do some of those soft touches look like to clients that haven't paid? Like, how does that process look like? Obviously, again, you don't have some mobster come in and kick in someone's teeth. How do you come in softly? And what I'm kind of listening for is how I can come in softly just before I ever need a collection agency and how to implement this in my current business,
Yeah. I actually spend a lot of time training people on those techniques so that they don't need me, right? Try this softer approach yourself. See if it gets you somewhere.
If anyone's me, Katie, I try it and I fail and then I end up realizing that I need you. So, but I want to try it and I want to learn. So.
Right. And it's a time consuming process. So, let's say we bring that client on, we start with what's called a validation letter. We have to let the debtor, the consumer, know that the Beyond Green Solutions has been engaged by X company to collect this debt. And an overview of what that means, an overview on how to get help, an overview on how to dispute. That's very federally regulated. Then we wait 35 to 40 days, give them an opportunity to open the mail, to process and think about what they've received. And then we begin with a phone call. believe it or not, we don't always get to the phone call. Many people will see that letter and ultimately resolve it, either by calling us, going on our portal, sending us a little strip of paper and a check. But then we get on the phone, right? And a phone call has to begin with validating who the person is, letting them know who we are, and letting them know that we are a collection agency. And then it becomes this very open-ended conversation, right? Asking questions that are open-ended and giving people the opportunity to say what they want to say. And some people, it's like, oh, yeah, I know. Let me help you resolve that. But for many people, it's, this is why I didn't. This is why I can't. This is why I'm unhappy. This is why I forgot. Whatever is happening in their personal situation. And you need to listen, right? That's what empathy is, right? Listening, not judging, trying to give somebody the opportunity to get it off their chest. And then when you start to resolve, you want to use words that are positive. They call them power words. Things like, let's say, Ben, you say to me, well, I owe you $1,000, Katie. Can I just pay $500 and we'll call it again? Well, I shouldn't say I can't do that. I should say, well, I can do $750 instead of $1,000. Would you like to resolve $750? The other things are simple things. And we tell this to front desk people all the time. It's not, would you like to pay? It's, how would you like to pay, right? One of them has an answer that you might not like what you hear. But when you ask somebody how, both, any option, any reply that they have is ultimately going to lead towards resolution. Studies show that if you give people a choice, everybody wants a choice, right? I'm putting my kids to bed. Do you want to read one book or two books before you go to sleep? Either way, you're going to bed, right? But if you give somebody two options, studies show that they like the second option. So let's go back to that $1,000. Ben, would you like to pay $1,000 today? Or would you like to pay $500 today and $500 at your next payday? Both of them are leading to resolution. And maybe that's not the perfect example, but you get the gist of what I'm trying to say. It's using kindness, it's listening and waiting, it's talking less and hearing more. That is the way to resolution. And, I talk to a lot of really amazing people who tried this internally and it works sometimes. But again, it ultimately gets back to you've become this white noise. So I always tell people, well, try it. Well, it can't hurt to try it, right? Take a deep breath, give yourself some confidence, practice what you're going to say, pause at all the right moments, pop those words that you want to resonate with people, and then stop and listen and see what happens. And they love that. They love it. They're like, all of that makes sense, Katie. I don't want to do that. So, we're not all caught up to ask people for money, and that's okay. It's a tough role. I believe that to be true.
I know personally it is a tough role, and you are in a position of authority and expertise to do it. I know there's been in certain cases in my career that I'll defer to the manager just because I feel uncomfortable and they're more in that place of authority. And it's almost like nice to be able to defer to someone, not to be the bad guy. But at the end of the day, it seems like, so you kind of have to stop being so afraid of being liked, because you're looking for an amicable solution as a business owner, as a business person, and we can find a solution. But I know a lot of business people, myself included sometimes, is afraid to even ask because you think you're going to upset someone, or you don't have the strategies to do it in a kind way, and you come off too rash and forward. Does that seem like a common issue you see?
Yeah, that is a common issue. And it's the business owners, it's also their staff that have that responsibility. It's, I don't know how to do this, or I don't want to do this. I don't think I'm good at doing this. The other half that I see, though, is it's personal, right? You did really good work that you're really proud of. And then you didn't get paid for it. And you're sad, you're angry, you're frustrated, you're annoyed. And I don't even know if it's that they're afraid to make the call. I think they're afraid of what they'll do when they make the call, right? Because those emotions are so raw. And it's sometimes you just need to take the personal out of it, right? You need to step away from something that you're not confident that you're going to do well for whatever reason, and give it to someone who is skilled in doing that. And that's where a lot of our clients, they come in. They've either, tried and waited and hoped and prayed and thought that somebody was going to resolve it, and it just got away from them, and they just can't function anymore without those dollars, or they felt like they got burned and they can't fix it. They tried, they can't get anywhere with these people, right? This person who I have an emotional attachment to because of the work that I've done, and they're looking for someone to mediate for them and have the conversations that they can't, keep their cool to do.
I love this. Again, I see this working as a great lesson in anywhere in life. Anything from needing to hire someone for childcare, to needing to collect, to needing to hire a VA to help with some of the accounting, or passing off some of the accounting to a CPA. Like, we can't be perfect at everything. And I know personally, when I deliver at what I'm good at and I crush it, I'm emotionally attached to the work that I did. But if my strong suit is in collecting on that money, maybe we need somebody with that strong suit. If I have a child and I can't be there for them 24/7, maybe you need to hire someone to come in and babysit. Like, it seems like such a common piece of insight, but I think it's important that people hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you own a business, at some point, if you provide your goods and services on credit, which means you finish the work before you've collected all the money,
right?
It's not if you're going to run into a past due or a non-payment, it's when. And so I talk to a lot of businesses where it's a surprise, like it's happening to them for the first time. And that's really exciting. And then I talk to other businesses where the nature of their business, it just tends to happen on a regular basis. So we have all different professions, we have all different industries, we have all different processes. And it's funny because, well, it's not funny, but it's a unique story. Yeah. When I started and when we talked about empathetic collections, I thought, well, we're going to be in the industries that I would say the industries of care, right? And we were, right? We had nonprofits, and we had, physician offices, and, behavioral health and funeral homes. And all of these made sense, right? These are people who believe in empathy because their businesses lead with empathy.
Right.
And then we started to get all of these other clients, and they were plumbing and contractors and HVAC and bookkeeping and accounting, towing companies, veterinary clinics. The list goes on, the type of clients and people that reach out to us. And I thought, why am I focusing in one area? Every business likes customer service. Every business believes in empathy. Every consumer wants to be treated with kindness. And I found that our niche is not the industries of caring. It's the industries who care about their customers. And that's really every industry. So if you're a small business and you can't leave revenue on the table, you can't just write it off and walk away. And you sure as heck don't want to bring down the hammer right away. Trying this softer approach can yield return with very little effort on your part. And it kind of allows you to go back and focus on those things that you are good at, that are revenue generating for you with your time and your talent. And that's exciting because I'm a small business and I'm helping small businesses. I'm helping the Rochester community. I'm single-handedly changing how people feel about debt collectors. But I think, we want to see ourselves as a community business, just like you see yourself as a community business. We want people to hear the name Beyond Green Solutions and say, oh, I know what that is. That's a collection agency. They help small businesses. Instead of this kind of, I don't know, hiding under the bridge like a troll.
I think you're single-handedly changing my perception. I don't even like the word debt. It's more just getting the money that I deserve in an amicable way through empathy. Like, wow, like that's something that every business needs to be empowered to at least know that the option's there. You don't have to just write off that 100K, 200K and cut your losses and move on. There's a better way.
Yeah. Yeah. They say, every good business needs a good business banker. They need a
Mm,
good lawyer, need a good HR generalist. Well, I think every business needs to have a collection agency in their back pocket. Hopefully you never need them. But wouldn't it be great if somebody talked to you before you had a past due to give you some pointers on how to prevent it?
right.
Wouldn't it be great if a collection agency was in your process who already knew your business and just knew when it was time for something to roll over to them? Maybe they never have to come in and help you, but you're ready to go. I talk to a lot of people that they're in a dire straits, right? They've waited too long to reach out,
Mm.
and we can help them. Oh, but coulda, woulda, shoulda, right? Like, why didn't you call me when it was 30,000 or 50,000? Why did you wait till it was 150? Selfishly, and the business that I am in, I would really love to see people think about working collections into their receivables process and hope that they never need it, but it's there to save the day when things get too far along, instead of letting it go beyond a place where, repair takes a lot of time.
It does. So it's a safeguard. It's there to save the day. It's part of the process. We don't want to need it, but we have a plan B for when we do. Um,
Yeah.
give us the testimonial we were talking about before. So we already talked about what this whole process looks like, and obviously you don't have to disclose any of the parties involved here. But what does like a successful partnership on this kind of thing look like? What are some of the success stories you've had?
Yeah. I mean, we talked a little bit about, the no news is good news, right? We love
Right.
to hear that from our clients. I think some of the success stories that I'm most proud of is when clients start out hesitant for our services and say, well, I just have a few. And
Hmm.
they give us a couple of accounts, but then over time, when they see the relationship we have with them, the way that we treat their clients, suddenly we receive more and more and more. I had a half an hour conversation with the most lovely woman who oversaw a plumbing company. And she spent 25 minutes telling me how they don't have any past dues. And I'm
Hmm.
like, that's great. What do you do? And I heard all about her process. And she was great. She was really on top of it. It was very clear that they knew what their breaking point was. Like, this is when it's time to send a late notice. This is when it's time to make a phone call. This is when it's time to engage in a payment plan for 25 minutes. And then at minute 26, she said to me, we do have some past dues that we're really struggling with.
Hmm.
And this has been a great conversation. And I'm going to talk to my boss about it because I think we could use your help. And I really like what you've shared. And so the next week, she reached out to me and they signed a contract and we're helping them. As a matter of fact, I just called her last Monday. I'm like, guess what?
Yes.
We haven't even talked to your first customer. They already sent in a payment.
I love that.
So it's working for them. They're very excited it's working. But it shows you that in any relationship, in any cell,
Hmm.
it's the relationship that you have with that potential client. And in debt collection, not only is it no different, it's harder, right?
Right.
Because who wants to admit people owe them money? Who wants to admit they're failing at their business because they can't get that receivable? Who wants to open up to somebody who calls themselves a debt collector? And so every time those conversations turn into clients and those clients turn into success stories where we can help them, I'm really proud, right? I'm proud that I found a profession that could really use the help of a nurse. I'm proud to work in an industry that helps our economy. No matter what anybody says, look it up. Collections helps the economy. Mm-hmm. And if we can do it in a way that protects your integrity and elevates my industry, we're all going to win. Even the person who owes money is going to win because nobody wants to be in debt. And so helping them resolve that takes anxiety off of them and responsibility off of their plate. And so I feel like it's a win-win-win in that type of example. I don't think I answered what you had asked me, but I hope I gave you information that was interesting.
I think you're incredible. No one wants to be in debt. You got to treat that with empathy, help them get out of it. No one wants people to owe them money. You need to find a way to resolve that issue. That stimulates the economy, makes the whole world better at the end of the day, and does it without, again, I joke, but we don't have to hire a mobster to go ruin someone's life. We can do it in an amicable, hospitable way. It's so cool that you're a nurse, and you can tell how the interchange of being a nurse into your current role was actually like a perfect fit in a weird, unique way. It's a perfect fit, right?
Yeah, it's strange because when I first started Beyond Green Solutions, I don't know if ashamed is the right word, but I was hesitant to tell people that, I'm new to collections. I came from healthcare. And then it got to be the point where that's the story that it most resonated with them, right? Instead of being ashamed or afraid or embarrassed that I was a nurse, I started talking about it because it's good to breathe new experiences into old industries. Mm-hmm. You know, when you're a nurse and people come straight out of college into nursing like I did, they have a completely different mentality than somebody who worked in the business world for 10 or 15 years and then got their nursing degree. They breathe new innovation and thought into healthcare. Collections is the same way. Isn't it great that somebody with no collections experience decided they could help people in a new way? I love that. And so I'm really proud. I mean, I tell people all the time, be careful. They're like, oh, you're a nurse, come help. I'm like, no. I'm a pediatric nurse by trade. So I can't help in all of my connecting and networking meetings. But I still practice as a pediatric nurse. You know, I think you noticed, Ben, that I work as a substitute nurse at my children's private school, which is like, I don't know, 3 to 4 times a year I go in and run the nurse's office, which is just another great way to give back to a school that I really love. But it's a nice way to say I'm still a practicing nurse.
You're still a practicing nurse. We're going to end with rapid fire to get to know Katie just a little bit better on a personal level. These are fill in the blank either or questions that you can answer. You can say whatever you want. For example, some people don't drink, and when I ask beer or wine, they say water. However you want to take it. We're just going to go rapid fire and get to know Katie a little bit better. And I often start with coffee or tea.
Coffee. Every day, all day.
We'll do favorite season.
Spring.
Springtime. Are you a morning person, a night owl?
I am a morning person who goes to bed by 9 o'clock at night.
Love it. Early bird then?
Yeah. Many mornings I'm sitting down drinking coffee at 5:30.
So you love coffee, and do you drink beer or wine? Do you have a favorite beverage when you're just trying to chill?
Yeah, maybe wine 2 or 3 times a year, but I'll mostly stick with iced tea.
This will be a little bit more long form one if you want it to be, but what are you learning right now? What are you excited to be learning about? Like, what's new and exciting that you're learning and absorbing, and what's Katie learning right now?
Oh my gosh, I'm learning about so many different industries. Every time we bring on a new client, I want to learn more about that industry. I was laughing with someone the other day. I've never in my life planned a funeral, but I can tell you so much about the funeral industry and the people and the work that they do. It's absolutely amazing. So yeah, I love that. Bringing on a new client really means learning a new industry and a new group of people.
New client, new industry, new group of people, more people you can help. I love it. One more time, how do people get in touch with you? I don't know if I asked you earlier. I hope people know that your information's in the show notes, but let's say it out loud. What's the best way to reach out and continue the conversation? Whether I need help or just want a friendly business owner to you're a collaborator, you're a networker, you're a connector. So regardless, how should people reach out to you?
Lots of ways. I'll take any sort of inquiry, but most people find me through our website, beyondgreensolutions.com, or they find me personally through LinkedIn, which I try to be active on both for myself as well as Beyond Green Solutions. You can find our articles and our blog information there, and hopefully some tactics that you can use internally. And yeah, I'm out networking a lot. Love to meet new people. Love to have one-on-ones. Not for selling, whatever it is. Just to get to know people. I am amazed at Rochester and our small business community, and I encourage anybody who is looking to grow their business to start with growing their network.
I love it. BeyondGreenSolutions.com. Connect with Katie on LinkedIn. That will be in the show notes. Again, she's game for one-on-one. She wants to get to know you. She wants to network. I love it. I feel like we covered a lot of ground. I just want people to know that they can reach out to you, collaborate with you, and you're a giver, Katie. I appreciate the conversation, and you kind of unraveled some of the lies and misconceptions when people hear debt collection and things like that. And I'm excited to learn more from you in the future.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks for coming on. We'll talk soon.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Rochester Business Connections. Don't forget to share this, rate, and comment on your favorite platform. You can also email me, ben@balbertmarketing.com. Let's connect soon. Until then, keep thriving, everyone.